So are you curious if you have gluten sensitivity? Maybe your gut has been off, your digestion, and you're curious as to why. Many studies show that a gluten-free diet may be the key to a healthy gut, which affects everything in your body. So for some people, they need to do a gluten-free diet. It's a total game changer for them. But for others, it doesn't make sense because they're just not gluten sensitive. So what should you do? And how do you know if you're gluten sensitive? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Hi, I'm Wendy Myers of MyersDetox.com. So there's many symptoms of gluten sensitivity like fatigue, brain fog, and skin issues that happen outside of the gut, which make it challenging to link those and correlate those to gluten sensitivity. And so in this video, I'm going to discuss what gluten sensitivity is, how it impacts your body, and the role the liver plays in it. I'll also talk about signs and symptoms of gluten sensitivity and what to watch out for to see if you have it or not. But more importantly, you'll learn how to reduce the impact of gluten sensitivity if you struggle with this. All right, so let's go. So what is gluten sensitivity? So gluten sensitivity occurs when you eat a food that contains gluten, we'll get to those in a minute, and your immune system has a over-exaggerated response to it. It attacks this food or of the protein in a food like it's a foreign invader, like a virus or a bacteria. And the problem with gluten is it's part of almost everyone's diet, and it's even in almost every single meal that people eat, because gluten can be found in gluten-containing grains like wheat, barley, and rye, and other grains as well. So when people are eating, their meals every day, they're eating tortillas, they're eating sandwiches, they're eating pasta, and they're eating so many different kinds of foods that contain gluten in almost every single meal. So it can be really difficult when you have certain symptoms like fatigue and brain fog and skin issues, and you just have a really difficult time correlating eating this food at every meal, this gluten, and your symptoms. And most people eat all these foods that contain gluten without really giving it much thought. So on the other side of the spectrum, there's celiac disease. This is a complete gluten intolerance where it can cause severe inflammation in the gut when you eat gluten. It's becoming more and more common today. It's a very severe autoimmune disorder. It can be very, very debilitating. Gluten sensitivity is not as serious. It can cause lots of symptoms, but not nearly as severe as the inflammation and pain and other issues caused by someone who has a celiac disease diagnosis. So that's not what we're really talking about today in this video. So why is gluten sensitivity on the rise today? So number one, people have a genetic predisposition, but that's always been there. Number two, there's more toxins in the environment. There's lots of glyphosate, which is an herbicide, and pesticides being sprayed very, very heavily on wheat crops. And then also in the United States, the wheat is bred to have higher levels of gluten. It makes the bread more soft and fluffy. This is not the same type of wheat that's perhaps grown in Europe. That's why some people can't tolerate gluten in the United States, but then go to Europe and they can eat all the pizzas and croissants they want, because they don't use the glyphosate and it has less gluten in it. So that's maybe will solve the croissant mystery for some of you guys watching. But so these are a few of the reasons why more and more people are becoming gluten sensitive. So what happens with people that are gluten sensitive is they have an over-exaggerated response or immune response that attacks the protein in foods that contain gluten. So gluten is a protein. Gluten actually means glue in Latin. The root of that word means glue. And actually, causes kind of a sticky substance in your intestines as well. But so people that are eating gluten at every single meal kind of have this constant immune system response 24/7 that causes a lot of inflammation in the body and the resultant symptoms that we'll talk about in a second. And to make matters worse, all of this inflammation caused by gluten consumption can cause something called leaky gut, where you literally get kind of perforations in your gut lining. That can cause other food proteins, large undigested proteins of food, to leak into your bloodstream, causing further immune system responses, and the cycle just continues. But there is a way to prevent this, and the first step is taking care of your liver. And as I talk about often, there's a clear link between your liver health and food sensitivities. The more congested your liver is, the more problems you have with your liver, the more likely you are to have food sensitivity sensitivities, and I've seen many clients that address their liver health and they have fewer food sensitivities as a result. And the liver is also responsible for mitigating inflammatory responses in your body as well. Some data suggests that people with gluten sensitivity or celiac disease, that these conditions can seriously affect the liver's performance. In other words, so for someone with gluten sensitivity, this might severely affect their liver's ability to calm inflammation in the body, and then inflammation can just run rampant. So the possible end result is endless cycles of inflammation, immune activation, and liver exhaustion. So let's go over the top 3 warning signs of gluten sensitivities. So these 3 are the ones that you should never ignore. So number 1 is digestive disturbance. So when you eat gluten and you're sensitive to it, you can have stomach aches. That was the one that I used to have. I'd eat some crackers or I'd eat some bread and I'd get a stomach ache. People can also have diarrhea, they can have constipation. Any kind of digestive disturbance can be a sign that you are gluten sensitive. And if you do get these symptoms from gluten sensitivity, these can happen almost immediately or within a few hours of consuming gluten. But some of these symptoms can also happen days, even up to a week after consuming the food. So it can be really hard to make that correlation between that sandwich you ate and your abdominal pain or abdominal discomfort or bloating a few days or even a week later. But having digestive disturbance doesn't necessarily mean you're gluten sensitive, because there's dozens of other foods. You can be sensitive to any food, so that doesn't necessarily mean you're gluten sensitive, because there's many other root causes of those symptoms as well. But if you notice that these symptoms appear pretty soon after eating gluten or gluten-containing grains, it's possible it might be from gluten sensitivity. So number 2 is depression and anxiety. So consuming gluten-containing foods can cause imbalances in your gut, and when you have imbalances in your gut where you make serotonin and dopamine, this can lead to mood disorders like anxiety and depression. For instance, depression and anxiety is very common for people that have celiac disease, because there is that link, that gut-brain connection between the gut and neurotransmitter production and those feel-good chemicals, serotonin and dopamine. So people with celiac disease are prone to anxiety and depression as a result. I've heard of so many stories of people that eliminate gluten from their diet and they have an immediate improvement in mood disorders. And so there definitely is a connection there between your gut health and gluten that can destroy your gut health and neurotransmitter production of feel-good chemicals. So let's take a look at another warning sign. So number 3 is skin problems. So gluten sensitivity can bring on skin issues like eczema and psoriasis, and this is a big underlying root cause of these issues. So if you do have, kind of chronic skin issues, itchy, scaly skin, red skin, or have a diagnosis of eczema or psoriasis, you may want to think about eliminating gluten from your diet. So if you are gluten sensitive, skin issues can occur even if you don't have digestive issues or fatigue or brain fog. So our diets are so full of inflammatory foods, it's really important to pay attention to what you're eating, maybe even keep a food diary or a food log, and pay attention to what symptoms you have after eating gluten or other foods. There's a long list of inflammatory foods that we eat in our diet, so you have to make that connection in your food log between gluten consumption and a flare-up of your skin issues or your inflammatory skin condition. So if you notice your skin breaking out when you're eating gluten or shortly thereafter, you might have a gluten sensitivity. Luckily, a gluten-free diet typically can clear up skin issues, and definitely a lot of people with psoriasis report that their condition dramatically reduces in inflammation once they stop consuming gluten. So are you noticing a pattern here? So generally, what all of these symptoms have in common is inflammation. And so there's a lot of foods out there that cause inflammation. I actually created a video about that you can check out right here. It's called The World's Top 10 Most Dangerous Foods. So I dare you to watch that video and see if any of these foods are in your diet that could be causing inflammation. What surprises me in that many people consider foods to be healthy, like cereal, are in fact not very healthy, and I talk about why in my video, The Top 10 Most Dangerous Foods that you might be eating right now. So go check that out and learn about some other foods that may be harmful to your health that you may mistakenly think are healthy that you're eating every single day. So now that you know some of the warning signs of gluten sensitivity and you suspect that you might be gluten sensitive, what do you do about it? So that's what I'm going to talk about right now. how to manage gluten sensitivity. So removing gluten-containing foods is a must for anyone who's gluten sensitive or intolerant. There's no cutting corners here. You've got to cut out a lot of the foods that you're accustomed to eating on a daily basis. You've got to cut out bread, crackers, you need to cut out pasta, tortillas, and things of that nature. And it's not very fun, but you can make an adjustment. It is doable. Millions of people are doing it. And there's lots of gluten-free foods on the market, gluten-free pastas, gluten-free breads as well. There's lots of choices on the market today. So keeping gluten-rich food in your diet is going to cause that inflammatory response that we talked about, and just keep the cycle of these symptoms, these unwanted symptoms going, just this endless cycle. So you've got to cut out gluten if you want to get rid of these annoying symptoms. But even though you eliminate gluten from your diet, it is going to take some time, even a few weeks, for that inflammatory response to start calming down. So don't expect a miracle or a disappearance of your symptoms right away. It will take time for your body to kind of adjust and calm that inflammatory response. And one of the keys to success here is helping your liver to recover and staying at the top of its game. So I created a video about that, about the top 10 foods for your liver to support liver health. You can watch that video right here. And I go into all these different foods and how you can incorporate them into your diet, and even some meal plans to start incorporating everyday liver healthy foods into your diet. So check that out right here. So it's important to maintain a healthy liver and really love your liver. Think about taking care of your liver, because your liver is the first line in your immune response, which people are thinking about right now, and also will help to mitigate these immune responses when you're eating inflammatory foods like gluten. So this is where anti-inflammatory herbs can make a huge difference. So you can consume compounds in your diet like turmeric, moringa, ginger, acai, and other extracts. And these can help to significantly reduce inflammation in your body. They can give you your liver support that it needs to reduce inflammation. But I know it can be, these are kind of weird foods that a lot of people don't eat on a daily basis, or may have a hard time kind of integrating into their meal plan. So I created a supplement. It's a 100% organic superfood powder called Daily Detox. And it's specifically formulated to support your liver. It has over 27 different ingredients and herbs, including fermented broccoli sprouts, fermented beets, has fermented turmeric in it, and so many other ingredients that give your liver the support that it needs to help to reduce inflammation. Because for many people, simply eliminating gluten isn't enough. They need to calm the inflammation that's present in their body as a result of eating gluten. So liver support is super, super important here. Daily Detox can help your liver remain healthy and work properly and bring your body back into balance. So you can get a link down to that in the description below. Okay, so let's recap. So the takeaways on this video is millions of people have gluten sensitivity. They don't know it. They have symptoms that are hard to pinpoint. And so I wanted to talk about some of these symptoms, these top 3 symptoms, warning signs that you want to look at to pinpoint if you have gluten sensitivity and need to go on a gluten-free diet. If you've been struggling with digestive issues, with emotional problems, maybe like moodiness, up and down, depression and anxiety, or even skin issues and inflammatory skin conditions, it may be time to take a look at whether or not you are gluten sensitive. It could very well be the source of these health conditions, and it's really necessary to take a look at these things to ensure that these problems don't get worse. And for sure, if you have an autoimmune condition, you absolutely 100% have to remove gluten from your diet, because gluten is contraindicated if you have immune system malfunction. You don't want to be throwing gluten in that mix and confusing your immune system and perhaps exacerbating any autoimmune condition that you have. Assisting your liver is also an essential part of this process. You can't just eliminate gluten. You need to give your liver some herbs and nutrients to help support the inflammation response as well, and help your liver mitigate that inflammation response. A great way to do that is with anti-inflammatory herbs like turmeric and ginger, moringa, and acai. And like I mentioned before, I formulated a product called Daily Detox. It has all of these ingredients in it. It has fermented ginger, fermented turmeric, lots of other fermented ingredients to really maximize the nutrient absorption from these amazing anti-inflammatory compounds. And it has over 27 ingredients to help support your liver in this whole process. So you can check that out in the link below. So I'm Wendy Myers. Thanks for watching this video. And if you like these videos, subscribe below and get notifications as well. Click the little bell to get notifications every time I produce a new video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.